They had one solution for every single location that there was an EV charger. And that's when I looked at it, I was like, well, no wonder everybody's upset. Like the only option you had was to buy chargers from this company, and they were, there was several companies doing it, but they all had the same model. You buy the charger from them, you put it on their software, but you had to worry about it.
Welcome to the Velstrap podcast. Today we're diving into the future of travel and hospitality with a look at the rapidly growing world of EV charging infrastructure. Our guest is a leader at the intersection of construction and hospitality and sustainable transportation. Please welcome Tony Booth, the founder of and CEO of Stay in Charge. Tony and his team are on a mission to help hotels and resorts meet the surging demand for EV drivers by providing seamless turnkey EV charging solutions, from design and installation to management and promotion. With over 30 years of experience in the construction industry, he brings a wealth of practical knowledge to this innovative space. Tony, thanks for joining us on the Velstrap podcast.
Jonathan, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and chat with you a little bit here.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of what it is you did, and not because it was something that was necessarily reinventing the wheel, because we had chargers and there's EV vehicles, which are a big deal. Everyone has a Tesla nowadays. But the thing that I love is hearing about someone finding a solution to a problem that seemingly no one even cared to or tried to come up with a way to fix it. So I love the solutions to problems that people just can't find. So tell us a little bit about the journey.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I kind of like those things too, right? Like when you hear about people solving problems, and I've always kind of been a problem solver. But early on in this space, I was looking at it, like you mentioned, I was in construction. So I'd grown up my whole life in construction and was seeing this EV thing starting to take off and starting to grow. And I'm like, can I bring something to my existing clients, the guys I built hotels for and all this stuff? And so I was like, let me start offering this EV charging thing to them. And the first thing I got back was all this pushback. And it was a little shocking to me. They were like, we don't want those things. We don't want a headache. We've had people talking to us for the last 3-4 years trying to put those in our parking lot. And all we have is problems. They don't work, or, the guests get mad, or my front desk needs to worry about these things. And I was like kind of shocked, and I was like, okay, looked around and what was there and realized what was happening is the market that was in the space today that was there at the time, they had a solution, and that was it. They had one solution for every single location that there was an EV charger. And that's when I looked at it, I was like, well, no wonder everybody's upset. Like the only option you had was to buy chargers from this company, and they were, there was several companies doing it, but they all had the same model. You buy the charger from them, you put it on their software, but you had to worry about it. Like you had to call them, and you had the people coming to you asking what to do. And, I got thinking, well, a front desk, somebody that works a front desk has no idea what to do with EV charging. So no wonder these hotel owners don't want these things. That's just another headache. And so I went back and did some research and couldn't find anything, and said, well, what if I kind of did this and this, and went back to a couple developer friends. And I said, hey, what if I did this for you? What if I put chargers in your parking lot? They'll have my number on them. So if anybody has a problem, they'll call me. I'll have people standing by. If something breaks, we'll come out and fix it. And then they were like, that's what we wanted. That's perfect. So problem solved. So of course, nobody was doing it. So I had to develop the software and kind of put the program together, but that's what we did. So now we go out to any commercial property and we offer it as a fully managed solution, but they're still it's their system. So they get the revenue from it. They get the upside without having to train a bunch of people on how to answer questions about EV charging. And then we make our money by managing the service for them.
So it's a hands-free for the hotel. And if anything that goes wrong, I can just kind of call and be like, hey, I need help with this. It's not unlike, I think we went over this a little bit the first call. It's a little bit like AAA, where you have someone somewhere that can help you figure out whatever it is you need.
Right. And
in any city where it's located.
And it's every piece of it, whether it's something wrong with the charger, something wrong with the software, something happened on the breaker in your electrical room. We are there to take care of all of it. So it's not like those other programs. If the software was, the first person you call would be the software, and they'd be like, the software is fine. It must be your charger. And then you call the charger people and they're like, oh, the charger's fine. It must be the power coming from your electric room. And now you're calling an electrician and you're going through 3 different people trying to
Yeah.
solve a problem. So what we said is, no, there's no more of that. We're a single call, completely hassle free. We take care of it all for you. And so
So
that's what everybody
it's
likes, and that's what we
it was
do.
an issue that was compartmentalized, and then you just made it full service and took
Right.
the headache out of everyone's hands, and just you took it on for yourself essentially. But not so much a headache; it's just you found an easy solution for a compartmentalized problem.
Right, because everything was kinda little pieces, and so we just combined it all into one and put it under our umbrella and said, of course, we still buy our chargers from a manufacturer most of the time, so we have warranty calls with our manufacturer, but instead of making the host property deal with that, we did it ourselves. Like, we take care of that. So we'll call the manufacturer and deal with the warranty calls, so they don't have to. So we just put it a level of service on top of it that helps support that customer that wanted that solution out there. And really that's been part of what served me through my whole career, even in the construction industry, is I always looked at how do we provide a level of service that they can't find elsewhere.
Right. And in construction, if you're not good at problem solving, construction is just little things that come out of nowhere,
Yep.
delays, supply chains. You have to, it forces you into effective critical thinking.
Right, and breaking problems down. Like, you can't just, like, okay, we got a problem. What's the real problem? Like, the project's running late. What's the real problem? Is it materials? Is it labor? Is it this? Right? Is it something else that we didn't do already that we should have? And so, taking that same experience of learning how to solve problems when this problem was presented, I was like, okay, well, let me solve that problem. How can I solve it? And then when you really start breaking it down to the basics, it's not as hard. One of the big challenges we faced early on was figuring out how to give people a peace of mind. Like, we're based in Georgia. We've got customers in California. So we're talking to them, selling to them. Of course, they're going to go, well, Tony, how are you going to come fix a charger that breaks at my parking lot? Are you going to get on a plane? Like, you can't afford to get on a plane and fly to California to fix a charger. And so part of building the business was solving a lot of those problems. And, so we looked at that and said, well, here's an easy way to solve a problem anywhere, exchanging, depending on the charger itself, but most of the chargers at a hotel are just a small little charger.
Right.
Changing that out is a simple process. It cost me about $50 to ship one out to California. So instead of sending a tech out to a site to take a charger apart and figure out what's wrong with it, why not just send them a different charger? This
Right.
tech
So you
goes out,
just change the whole
switches that
thing.
thing out. He's leaving the site 30 minutes later, puts that in a box and ships it back to me. And
Beautiful.
then my guy here takes it apart and says, oh, well, it was the modem that broke. Let's just order a new modem and put in this charger. Like, so it was solving a
See?
problem in a different way, just looking at it from a different standpoint and viewpoint, and realized that we could now service anywhere in the US with all I need is a local electrician. He doesn't even have to know about EV charging. It's 4 bolts and 3 wire nuts, you know?
Yeah. Brilliant. I love the solution. I think that's like, I don't to have somebody come in and like fix like the little like the wiring, and it's a lot. I have Geek Squad for Best Buy, and so my TV
Right.
went bad, and when I just called them, I'm like, TV's not working, and tomorrow we'll be there, and they came in, brand new TV, put on the wall, back up, running, no problem. I don't want to call somebody who repairs television sitting here trying to figure out what's wrong with the TV. I just want you to get it out of here and bring the new one in and fix it, and so I can watch football on Sunday.
Yeah, so that's what we're kind of doing with the chargers. We just realized, instead of even trying to train people all over the place and everything else, for the level twos, those bigger chargers that are at gas stations and places like that, well, there we have to send people out, but that's a
Right.
little bit different. And there are people in different regions that have the expertise, and those things are doing a much higher dollar volume. So it doesn't matter if you had to spend $400 to send a guy out. But when you're talking about a $1,200 charger that's in an apartment complex parking lot, if you had to spend $400 to fix that thing, like, you might as well just put a new charger in. The charger costs 1,000. It's like,
It's totaled. Yeah. You just might as well total it.
so why even bother, right? So that's when we
Right.
realized, like, we had to come up with a better solution. So that's what we did on that side as well. So
Brilliant.
makes it
I,
very
I, I love,
easy.
I love, again, like I said earlier, when someone finds a solution to a problem that is no one else can find, you'll find success. That's something that I love, because anyone in the audience, anyone watching, anyone thinking of creating a business that is a solution that no one else has thought of to a problem that everyone has is huge. I was doing a little homework before I kind of jumped on with you, and there are 2.5 million Teslas in America. And in the last year, they sold 1.79. And sorry, since 2004, they sold 1.79 million Teslas. So this is huge for the, at least the country. I can't imagine how many other countries, Teslas and other EVs are prevalent.
Yeah.
Tony, if you can do me a favor, just for the folks that are watching, where can we find you? Where can we find Stay in Charge? And for any hotels or restaurant groups or owners that might want to have your services,
Yeah.
if you can
So
give us the website and the social media platforms.
the easiest way to find us is stayincharge.io.
Okay.
That will give you our corporate site, tells you all about what we do, how we can help people out. You can find us on LinkedIn, Stay in Charge on there, and it's STAYN Charge, CHARGE. So not AND, but just the N there. So Stay in Charge. That's where you can find us, and we're on LinkedIn and all that. We're Stay in Charge. On Facebook and Instagram, it's Stay in Charge app. APP is our corporate name. So you can find us there. We actually on those social channels, we share a lot of content on education around commercial EV charging, from little video shorts to podcast shorts. And we have a weekly podcast that we do, all geared at just educating. We're just educating people about the market, because it's such a new market. People that own commercial real estate don't know what to do when they go looking to do EV charging. So I spend a lot of time just trying to educate everybody.
Okay. Very cool. So obviously, Stay in Charge has been successful. I can't imagine any hotel group that looks at this or here's one like spiel from you and is like, no thanks, I don't need this. Especially the higher end clientele that can't afford it. EVs. EVs are not cheap. EVs are pretty expensive, especially the ones that are self-driving. I know a couple of buddies that have some very cool cars that pretty much drove back from Lee Canyon all the way to Las Vegas, almost not driving. He was just talking to me on his phone almost. It sounds a little
Absolutely. Yeah.
irresponsible, but the EVs are pricey, they're expensive, and so the folks that can afford this would stay at nice hotels that are 4 stars and above, the Ritzes and the Crockfords and etc. So this is something that it would behoove any hotel owner or hotel group that to have your services and have your product there, so they can tell their clientele, hey, bring your car. We got you. We'll charge your car too. We'll fold your sheets, but we'll
Absolutely.
also charge your car. And if anything goes wrong with it, we'll take care of it in no time.
Absolutely. And it's actually, when you look at hotels, like you were saying, like the luxury hotels, you kind of look, they have brand levels, right? And they go up from luxury down to your economy. And what we're seeing is the demand for EV charging continues to go down that brand scale. And it's more into the mid range now, because obviously the cars became more cost effective. You're starting to have used models out there. So even the drivers now are moving down in kind of that. 5 years ago, they would all been higher income families, that can afford to spend that kind of money on an EV. But now that you have Tesla Model 3s in the $40,000 range, they become more affordable for everybody. And as more and more manufacturers get those out. So we're starting to see the drive even into the mid-level hotels, kind of those highway hotels that you normally see, the Hampton Inns, the Holiday Inns, right? We're starting to see a lot of demand there as well. So it just continues to go down. And we capture a lot of that demand. We know the demand. Stayincharge.com, our directory side of the business, is actually the #1 search result throughout the US for hotels with EV charging, and we get about 85% of the traffic. And
Interesting.
for the key search terms, which actually grow, the last 3 years, they've grown from when we first started 4 years ago, that was around 1,000 searches a month, and it's now up to about 8,000 searches a month.
Well, it makes sense, $2.5 million, 2.5 million cars rather,
Right.
since at least Tesla, not counting all the other EV brands that are out
Exactly.
there. I would assume that's another million or so all combined. It's like around a little bit over 3 or just under 4 million. You're going to have a huge demand for that. And, coming from Vegas, something that I see, I think a little bit more, or maybe it's just in my head that it's more prevalent, but there's every casino needs a massive parking lot. Huge. And I can't go down the street without passing by an electric vehicle. And whether it's for the employee parking lots, which you need an entire parking lot just for your employees. It takes an army to run a casino. And the reason I'm getting into this is because those parking lots, let's say you have to make 2 of them, or make a huge one and split it in half because, you need 2,000 people to park to operate the casino. And then you want 3,000 or 4,000 people to kind of come
Yes.
and have
Yeah.
fun and eat and drink and spend money and all that. It's a man. I'll get into this with you a little bit later, maybe after the podcast. But there's a huge demand, and there's not anywhere near the amount of charges that are necessary for the cars that are out there
Right.
because, like you said, they're very affordable. So I think
It's
there's a huge hole in the market, at least here in Vegas, for not just the casinos to kind of be able to say, hey, there's like 10 of them maybe, but they're full. They're just full because there's so many electric cars or residential buildings. So if you have your home, you can put your charger in your garage and that's fine. But I live in an apartment complex and there is not a single charger here. So if they want to charge their car, they have to go to Town Square, which is like a very nice mall. So I guess you can go have lunch and like charge your car if the charger's available because they
right.
only have a few chargers.
Right. And then what's going to happen there, and that's a whole nother part of the market we got into recently, is that same apartment complex, right? Like, so there's yours, there's one next door, and maybe they've planned ahead and they put chargers in. Well, guess what? People are going to rent their building instead of your building because they have the chargers.
The convenience factor.
And one of the problems with a lot of apartments putting those in was the same thing for the hotels. When I first got into the market, the only solution for the apartment was the same solution for the hotel operator, which was the same solution for the retail store. And it's a completely different use case, right? Like if I was to put chargers in at an apartment complex, first of all, I don't probably need near as many because not everybody needs to charge every single night. We can work things out. We can shift things around. I can do power sharing, but nobody was offering that stuff. They were all telling the apartments, well, yeah, you're going to have to spend all this money to put these chargers in instead of like, wait, we've got a solution that fits you better. Right. Like, and so we recently launched a program for apartments where we instead of them paying us thousands of dollars every year for the software, we built software that allow us to pass that on to the owner. And so now the apartment complex doesn't have ongoing costs that they need to worry about. The drivers are paying for that and it's spread across all the drivers. And we can do that on a billing cycle instead of credit card processing and having to have all that. We get people to sign up, like you would sign up at your apartment complex. We would give you your credentials. You go use the charger, you use your credentials throughout the month. And at the end of the month, you're going to get a bill. Here was your charging for last month, right? You can pay that through your bank account. So we don't have, there's just so many ways to do that so much easier and less and more cost effective that people weren't doing it. So we built that for the apartment complex now so that we can go help them, come in and put chargers in at a much more cost effective way.
Very cool. So, Tony, let's switch lanes here a little bit. So,
Yeah.
obviously, it has been success, right? When you first started this, I think you kind of executed the vision initially, right? But I think that it's fair to say that we all have a North Star and something that we discussed earlier. The North Star is what it is when you first start, let's say, stay in charge. But now that there is success, that kind of changes. You start to look a little bit higher up. So, in a year or in 5 years, let's say, what does stay in charge look like? This is the example I always like to frame it with.
Yeah.
Let's say in a movie, in a big Hollywood blockbuster, stay in charge is there. And we're seeing stay in charge in the best possible light, climbing from where it is now, which is a already successful place, to where it would be in 5 years in your vision. In this movie, in this hypothetical movie, what does stay in charge look like and why? And what does the scene in that movie look like? What does stay in charge do in this movie? What role does it fill? How is it a really cool tool in this movie?
So where I would see stay in charge ending up in that ultimate scenario is that people driving EVs would know when they are getting ready to take a trip that they're going to go to stay in charge and they're going to say, hey, I know I'm going out of town. I need to stay in Atlanta for a couple days. Let me go to stay in charge, find my hotel. Cause I know if I'm using stay in charge, I know I'm going to get my charge. I know I'm guaranteed. I know got everything I need to know. They're going to take care of me. And because they're doing that and we become kind of the go-to for the driver, right? It then allows stay in charge to be in the driver's seat, so to speak, with all the hotels and with everybody else. So we can not only help control rates, we can help the hotels make more money, but we can also help the drivers by providing more perks at hotels, by being able to go to those hotel groups and say, look, you're going to be on the stay in charge network. Well, we want you to because people are members and they're also loyalty members of your hotel, we want you to give them a discount for their stay or a discount for their charge. Or maybe if you have a restaurant, why don't you give them some free appetizers if they're staying at your hotels using your chargers, right? We can create that buzz and that brand
There's
around
a way.
stay in charge. Then you can
Yeah.
leverage all that to make better things for everybody, right? It's a win-win for everybody at that point, because my hotels get more guests, but then my guests get more perks, right? Like my guests make out better. So
Right.
that's where I see us growing to, is being able, and we'd be fully integrated with the hotel. So when you're booking your room, you book your stay in charge package in the room, which comes with the charger. Your charger's reserved. When you pull in, it tells you to go to charger number 12. There you go,
Right.
Jonathan. Plug into charger 12. We'll put it on your room when you're done and leave. And by the way, stop in the bar for a free appetizer on your way up to the room because you're
There
using
you
our
go.
chargers.
So there's integration. It's
It's
integration with just
integration
like
and
the experience,
exactly.
the hospitality part, as well as
Yep.
the logistics of getting your car charged, and
Yeah.
also as a good selling point because like if I'm driving across country in my Tesla and I'm gonna stay in Las Vegas, for example, and I need to charge my car because I drove all the way from like, I don't know, Arizona or Texas or whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, I can stay at these two hotels. They're very nice. They're both very central in the middle of the strip. An EV charger. And I have to go charge my car. Otherwise, if I don't stay here, I have to go get out of my hotel and go to this other
Right.
hotel or
And
like
go
some charging spot somewhere in the middle of like in the city just to charge my car. Whereas I can do so when I'm sleeping if I stay at
right.
Hotel X.
If I stay at Hotel X, I've got everything covered. The other thing, when we've already built the prototype on this, is we will have our chargers integrated directly into like mobile keys, so that, you know how like if some hotels nowadays you can get a mobile key
Yes.
on your phone and you just tap your
Yes.
phone. Well, we're,
Okay.
we're working with a couple of the lock
Nice.
companies to integrate our charger. You would do the same. You would just tap your phone on the front of our charger. It would know it's you. It knows you're in room 212, and it knows to send the bill to your portfolio. When you check out, it'll show, oh, you used the charger last night for 22 kilowatt hours, and here's your bill for that. So we've already worked with some of the big door companies on getting all that integrated, making a nice, again, driving that user experience. Is if we can make it as simple as you get out of the car, plug in and tap, or even in the future when they have the uh, the charging pads in the pavement, you just pull up and park and
Right.
it recognizes who you are and says, hey, we're seeing you're staying here. We're checked in. Do you want to start the charge and put it on your room? Sure. Make it all simple and easy. That's where we want to
See,
go.
now we're getting into the good stuff. Now you're
Yeah.
making it seamless, and now it's like a part of something that's like an afterthought that is going to be part of the hotel, and it's already part of the package of whatever the rooms may be. Like, hey, this is you get a drink on us. You can
Right.
charge your car, tap, see you later.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
perfect. I think right there, that's the ideal thing. So that's okay. That's the vision.
Yeah.
So
That,
tell
that's
me
the
one of the
vision. And,
things.
and it, to take that, just, you
Yeah,
got me going here now for a minute, but
yeah,
the other thing we explain to our users, right, like our hoteliers, is we now know more about that guest than they do. We're going to know when you're arriving. We're going to know when you're in the parking lot because you're plugging into my charger. So if we have a fully integrated system and you're part of like the hotel brands system as well, so they have your profile, we have your profile. We know you arrived. We know you're staying in this room. We can now set your AC to the temperature that you like it. We can turn the lights on in your room. When you're integrated with mobile credentialing, we can even check you in because we know your secure ID is on your phone.
right.
We check you into your room, so when you walk in the front door, instead of having to go stand in line, you're just saying, "Yep, I'm already checked in," and like all this integration is coming, and we're going to be a part of that. So it makes everything real seamless. And because maybe you've booked multiple trips with us in the past, and we know you like steak dinners, we've already, the hotel knows that as well. So you've been offered hey, we went to the steakhouse next door, and inside, all of a sudden you found in the app, was there, a free appetizer at the steakhouse next door because we know
Yeah.
you like that,
So we're getting into cross promotion now. Now
Right.
it's
Cross
like
promotion in
now we're
a,
bleeding into another industry, which is really kind of how you expand. Yeah, that's how you
yeah.
kind of get bigger and faster. Okay. So
And being able to do
go
it,
ahead.
like, I look at the cross promotion, but we want to do it in a way that's unintrusive, right? Like we just
Right.
want that stuff there because we know who you are. And if you want it, you go find it in the app, right? Like same way that Marriott tries to do, or Hilton. If you're staying at their hotel, they don't pound you with promotions about their restaurants in the hotel, but if you open up your app, you can go find whatever you want by them. And so we're looking at doing it the same way, that, we're not going to be sending you a text saying, "Hey, Jonathan, we saw you pulled into the parking lot. Come over here and get a free drink." It's going to be like, in the app, here's the area, go find it if you want it.
Very cool. Okay, Tony, so you told us the North Star. That's I love the cross promotion and how seamless it's going to be whenever this is finally executed.
Right.
But one of the things that I like to do with the podcast is ask folks to tell their story. The greatest challenge, when I say, man, this is like something that I don't know. If you think back, Tony wonders how he overcame this challenge, this hurdle that seemed unsurmountable sometimes, and the mindset that it took to kind of do that, because your solution might not pertain to another industry, but the mindset that you adopted to figure this out is something that is conceptual and can be applied to others in the audience listening that might be going through a similar trouble.
So I would say, there's the normal stuff. You always have the capital challenges and things like that. But one of the biggest ones that I recognize and would share with anybody was, so when we started this business, right, like obviously I'm going out and I'm trying to talk to the Marriotts of the world, right, like these big, large corporations, and I'm trying to go out and tell them that I can do EV charging and I should be doing it for you, not like ChargePoint. ChargePoint's been in the business for 17 years. Blink had been in the business for 14 years. So these are big corporations that had got investments and, they're doing millions of dollars a year, and I'm a little startup. Are they going to take me seriously? Well, of course, at first they're not, right? But what I knew to do, like what I did was I prepared for a lot of their stuff, because they're like, "Oh, well, you go to talk to somebody like that." We went to trade shows, and obviously I got a chance to talk to some of those people, and they're like, "Oh, well, okay, so you're a new business. Well, where are you based out of?" "Well, I'm based out of Georgia." "Well, how are you going to go to California and do this? And how are you going to, how are you going to do this? And why should we, take a chance with you?" Like, so we prepared for all that. I mentioned how we solved the maintenance stuff, but we also found some partners to work with. So we had people already lined up to go do installs. Like, "Where do you want me to install?" "I've got partners that can install anywhere in the US and Canada." I've got, we went out and found software developers to work with that. So what we did was built the product, but then also built our team behind us, even though we couldn't afford to go hire, 20 developers to have this team, but the company that we worked with had the developers on staff. So I prepared for a lot of that. You're not big enough. You're not there, because a couple of people told me, "Well, maybe you should just focus regionally." And I'm like, but that's not going to get me where I need to go. So it was not being afraid to push those boundaries and look at those people that said, "Why do you think as your little startup with three employees can go do the same thing as ChargePoint that's raised millions of dollars and has hundreds of employees?" Well,
Very cool.
because
So
I've
the
got good
challenge
partners.
it was a logistical hurdle that you were able to surmount with a partner that already had the people in place to execute.
And a mindset, right? Like that
The
was
mindset.
it was really the mindset, I think, more than anything, the mindset to solve the problem so that I could answer those questions and be ready to take them on, and don't take it as a lock on the door, right? Like most people would look at that and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're right. You know, Mr. Fortune 500 company, you're right. I shouldn't even be talking to you yet because we're not big enough. We haven't proved ourselves." And I just was like, no, I'm just as good as anybody else because I've solved the problems, and maybe even better than them because I solved them in a different way. But
Well, yeah, you had
at least
the
I
best
solved
way to
them.
solve them, I think.
Right. And so that's what I was prepared for, so that when they would push back and I would be like, "Well, why do you want that big corporation that's got a lock on how they do things and charge you 3 times that I would charge you?" Right. Like, and I can do everything quicker and better than they can. And so then they would come back with those questions. "Well, okay, what happens when you're in our hotel in Oregon and we got a broken charger?" I'm like, "Simple. I have a local electrician. I ship a box to him. He gets it in 2 days. He's out there switching it out." I said,
I see.
and then I'd be like, "And so you know what the other company's going to do? In 2 days, their tech's going to show up. He's going to put a tester on it. He's going to do a few things. He's going to diagnose the problem. Then he's going to drive off. They're going to order some parts, and they're going to come back next week with those parts
Ugh,
and fix it." So meanwhile,
no
your
thanks.
guest didn't have a charger for 5 days. Mine was already fixed.
Hell
And
yeah.
then they
There you
would
go.
you go,
It,
"Okay,
so it's got to be fulfilling, to have a solution to a problem, right? Isn't it like once here's the key to unlock this thing
right."
for any given problem, especially in hospitality. It's a very big deal when you can sell somebody on your property or your hotel, or even just a restaurant in your property, anything that can attract the person to stay there or not even leave. I mean, nowadays hotels and especially casinos out here in Las Vegas, they don't have any windows or clocks anywhere because they don't want you to know what time it is, how
What
long you've
time it
been
is,
spending your
exactly.
money or gambling.
Yep.
But it's a matter of not letting them leave. If you let them leave, that's money that walks out the door. So it's a huge selling point to have something like stay in charge in your casinos. And honestly, I don't think I've seen any of your stay in chargers out here in Las Vegas. I see chargers, but
Right, yeah.
not stay in charge yet.
We don't have any in we actually don't have any in Vegas. I don't think any of our,
And
and we have talked to a couple of the casinos, but like what happens in that business is you got the big, so a lot of the big operators are there, and so there's some of the ones that kind of push back on, the small company, and a lot of what we found in that bigger market is some of the guys that do a model that we don't do. They put them in for free. And so the like Caesars may have worked with a company that they didn't have to pay for their chargers. The charging company did it. And so some real estate companies love that option because they didn't have to invest any money, and they get kind of the ancillary benefits of the charging, but they don't get the revenue from it. So we feel a lot of those guys will eventually come back to us because they'll be like, wait a minute, these people are out here making money in our parking lot and we're not. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
so
because some casinos charge to park in their parking lots.
yeah,
The Cosmopolitan charges you to stay in the parking lot for like over 2 hours. You have to start paying already.
yep. So yeah, it's
Okay.
just different, but we're working our way. Some areas we don't have as good a penetration, other areas we do better, but that's part of growing. And as a
Yeah.
small business, we don't mind.
Well, Tony, I think that not unlike the objection handling that you mentioned as the greatest hurdle that you overcame when you were convincing these hoteliers to take on stay in charge versus the one that breaks down and they have three different compartmentalized solutions to one problem. I think it comes down to the same thing. When you're talking to a casino, if you just have the proper objection handling, this can be solved pretty easily. If you ask the right questions and break down the whys as to what is going on, you can probably sell them on. Because I don't know if the competitor would have that same solution, like we'll just replace it and then we'll bring it over instead of, and they have to have, maybe they have enough if they're not all being used up, but you just don't want to have anything that kind of breaks down, right? Or
Right. You don't want to
having
have that.
to wait a week for a part to get shipped in to fix it. And then the guy comes in later and it's
Right.
it's a whole thing.
Especially at a
And
hotel.
they're not making money off of it. You can actually help them make money off of it. Because at the end of the day, these casinos, all they want to do is make money. That's all they
Yeah.
do. And they got pretty good at it.
It's just more revenue per guest is what we explain to everybody. Like you have a guest coming in, if you put in an EV charger, you know, as a hotelier or any kind of entertainment operator, everything's measured by your, either your available rooms or your guests that come in, every person that enters your door. And if you can make another couple dollars off of that person, like that's just better off for your
It's
business. It's
upselling. It's all it
expanded.
is.
Yeah.
It's all
It's all incremental revenue and getting some more out of it. And that's what we try to do. We're very focused too on the sales side. Like you mentioned, we can show people those options. We actually do. We've trained all our people to even educate them on the free model. Like I have a full information package I'll send to anybody that's interested in EV charging, and we actually explain that free model and explain some of the pitfalls of it, the ups and the pros and cons of it. Because I've even told a couple operators to go with the free model, that their particular property fit better with the free model than investing in it themselves. Like, it's like it makes sense for you guys. Take
yeah.
the
I
free
mean,
model.
numbers don't lie, and at the bot, like there's a lot of red tape that goes into the casinos and the decision making. Is a couple of you will have to sign off.
But
I
yeah,
mean, ultimately, it's the president that ends up signing off on something like that because it's probably let's say maybe the VP that maybe not make it to the president, but the VP, somebody a big wig, is the one that ends up signing,
absolutely.
the deal or approving the deal to say, hey, you know what, stay in charge is actually going to bring us money. While this one is free, yeah, we didn't invest any money in it, but it's not making us any money. And if these guys know anything, it's that it takes money to make money. The investment that they made, they made it a substantial one to make a bunch of money off of everyone who comes here to stay, eat, and gamble and drink. So I think that if the numbers are there, if you can show them, hey, if this is free, but I'm going to make you money off of this, and show them the numbers of how many people are, and there's more and more electric cars every single day.
Absolutely.
It
And
seems
it's
like it would
starting
be
to
a
show.
no-brainer if you're asking me from my standpoint. Yeah, maybe it'll cost me X amount of dollars now. It's like solar panels. Yeah, it'll charge me pay a little bit now, but it's going to save me thousands of dollars, and it'll pay for itself 3 times over in a
Right.
couple of years.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we spend a lot of time showing people that, because that's exactly, especially on the corporate side, the bigger the corporation, the more they want to break all that down and we want to see that data. And it's
Okay, very
there, it's
cool.
growing more and more.
So Tony, okay, so we have a successful business that is on its way to a seamless cross promotion plan in the future, right? This is what
Yes,
we're
sir.
discussing in the ultimate scenario in this movie. But even when you find a solution to you're to a big problem that no one else has thought of, and you're doing what you like, it's still work. We still have to come in and do work. So can you tell us what are the day-to-day challenges, the things that like something that is it's like kind of a headache and that gets in your way? I think we all have them. Even if we do something that we love, there's always like little things that come up, the unknown unknowns that come out of left field that just manifest out of nowhere, or something that is just hard to get rid of, that makes that you can't just wait to get it over with.
I would say, like, so for me, and this, I guess the way I'm wired in my background, especially in construction, like you mentioned earlier, like construction's always challenges. So for me, what's more challenging is the routine. Like, I do not like the bookkeeping side of stuff. I do not like that, but it's got to be done every week. You got to run your books. You got to pay bills. You got to send invoices. You got to do those things, right? And those are the things to me that are more like frustrating and challenging. Like, I don't get fired up to do those. I don't get, but now
Yeah,
get that phone call or get that email from an upset client, or something went wrong, or we don't know how to solve this, like from the team. Like, that's where for me, I love those. Those are the fun parts for me. That's the part I love about it. I guess that's what makes me, kind of good at figuring out, solutions. But that's what I enjoy, is solving those solutions. When we get into that kind of mundane, like, okay, we got things, things are running, we got the email campaigns going, we got the like that kind of stuff. For me, it's hard to get excited about going through those metrics and kind of, keeping the flywheel moving. So that's always hard for me. I have to remind myself how important those little steps, are to doing that, because I'm always like, well, let's go fire up this new campaign versus like, let's tweak the old campaign,
yeah, right.
things like that are hard. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs that can be hard, because you're always like what they call like the shiny object syndrome. Like, we always get excited about things. So those mundane tasks, and the other big challenge for me is really looking back and reflecting on how much was accomplished. I always feel like nothing's been accomplished enough yet. Like, I always feel like there's always so much to do, and I always feel like I'm not doing it good enough. I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not, and you got to remember to stop every now and then and go, well, wait a minute. I've got thousands of people using my chargers. Like, that's something, right? Like, but I don't remember that
Impact.
very often. I don't remember that hardly at all. And I always kind of look at like, man, why aren't we bigger? Why aren't we better? Why aren't, like, because I don't remember to stop and reflect on where I've come from,
Hmm.
and that's a challenge I get a lot from even people I talk with, and entrepreneurs I work with. Years ago, I used to do a lot of coaching with contractors, and I was really good with them to like, that's one of the first things I did with them is, let's talk about what you did over the last 4 or 5 years. And then I'd reflect back to them how far they came. But doing it for myself is so hard. Like I'll catch myself being like, man, you're not doing something good enough. Why isn't this, why aren't your sales more? Why aren't this more?
Guilty. I'm the same. I can't like I don't wait. I think yesterday I didn't sit down until like 10 p.m. to like
Yeah.
and watch a show, just because I'm like, I gotta go do this and I gotta do this, and it never feels like it's enough. I have another buddy who's a serial entrepreneur, and he's successful. He threw a card show out here by himself, like one of those big card shows, and he did it. He's been doing it for years now, and he would work himself to death, man. And he's smart, he's super competent, and he's successful. But it's like when we would go out and like hang out, and he's just like thinking, and he's just kind of always got the wheels turning. And I'm like, dude, you're so proficient in all the things that come in that it takes to execute a card show, selling the tables,
Right.
marketing, design, social media, getting on the phone,
Getting
answering
people to
emails. He
show
was
up
his own
and yeah.
assistant. He was just all the time. He was going all the time. And by the time it was all said and done, he made money, but he was like just completely depleted. And I know that we work hard to make money because that's why we wake up in the morning. Obviously, if we were just billionaires, we wouldn't have to do this. But we have to stop and smell the roses sometimes. It's important. And to look back to like see, man, I did that. That's something that
Yeah.
nobody else did.
Yeah.
I did that. That was all me. So
Yep.
it's good to give yourself credit, because that way, what's the point of working a whole bunch if we're not gonna, enjoy the fruits of our labor?
Yeah, and if you don't reflect back, you get caught in that grind. Like you just get caught on that hamster wheel of just thinking that it's always worrying about when's the next sale coming in, when's this, when's that. And then your whole mindset starts getting built on that whole where you're thinking it constantly. So you have to remember to do that pattern interrupt and just say, wait a minute, let me reflect back, let me look back and okay, yeah, 3 years ago we were excited to sell 2 chargers, right?
Yeah.
And now we're selling 12 a week, right? So it's like, think about those things and you realize, or you're selling, you go and you get a huge month and it's like, you forget to think, okay, well, 4 years ago, you would have been happy with somebody just calling you on the phone and saying,
Right.
hey, let's talk about charging, so you have to remember those things and realize that, man, you really did do a lot of work, but you've come a long way. And if you really start to think of what you learned over that time is what's amazing.
Yes,
I
very
know
much
more
so.
about.
I kind of do that. I think we beat ourselves up sometimes when we reach a level of success that is something that was just an idea, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And you look back and you're like, I literally achieved everything that I thought I wanted to do a decade ago. And it's there. And even then, after you do and you look around, you still manage to beat yourself up sometimes,
Yeah.
which is something that, again, a common theme in the folks that I talk to on the podcast, the same issues. Want to work hard, you have this dream, this vision, the challenge that you overcame, and then a certain mindset that is similar to everybody else. And then when you achieve everything that you've had that you wanted, you still manage to beat yourself up, which is ironic because, that's the whole point of this is to be
Absolutely.
like, hey man, I did the thing I said I was gonna do. 12 chargers a week is awesome.
Right.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah,
You know, but
exactly.
and sometimes just talking about it and saying it out loud and somebody telling it to you and getting in your face a little bit, but like, dude, can you go over there and smell some flowers for a second? Like it's,
Yeah,
you did it, you're doing it and you're going to do it better now. It
that's
just,
why I
in
wanted to
five
share that.
years,
Right.
Tony, in 5 years, you can't like, you're going to look back and be like, damn, I was here. And that was already the vision. And now I'm like, over here, like, which is even bigger and better. I can't, that's something that we have to kind of like stop and like look around and be like, okay, I'm doing okay. I'm doing
Yeah,
fine.
and
We're doing good.
you have to do it more than just New Year's Eve, right? Like, people
A
get
hundred percent.
get so caught up in just doing this, like, oh, it's New Year's Eve, reflect on the previous year. Like, you have to do it regularly because it really does change your mindset. But I know it's hard. That's why I wanted to mention it. I know it is hard to remind yourself to do that. And sometimes I'll get caught in that grind. And when I start feeling down, that's when I kind of remember. And like, luckily I got some mechanism in my head that when I've gotten down a couple days in a row, it'll remind me like, hey, sit down, take out a piece of paper, like write some things down
Yep.
because you've
It's
got
mental fatigue. I think it's mental fatigue of just
exactly
kind
it's
of
the stress and
going
the
over it. And it just, your battery does deplete, whether you get some good rest at night or not. If you just kind of don't practice gratitude, which is huge.
exactly.
It's big. I have to have an alarm for my phone to remind me to go have food, go eat food. I have to go get lunch because otherwise I'll just go right through and I just won't eat. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
I have food in the fridge. There's
I hear
food
you.
there. I'm not like, I'm not doing that bad. I have food and everything. But from eating to being grateful for the opportunities that we have. And then, I think, attracting some of these things is, the vision, the idea, you attract them, but through hard work, these things kind of manifest. So, I
Exactly.
mean, congratulations to what you've done, Tony. That's pretty cool. Overcoming all the logistics and having that team in place to be able to say, actually, I can go to California from Georgia to install any charger, and if it breaks down, I'll fix it. Pretty much within the. So that's actually super cool, and it's something that's a huge selling point, I think. If you could tell us one more time, Tony, where we can find you. For folks that are interested, any
Sure.
hoteliers or
Yes.
private residences that could use your service for stay in charge.
Anybody that's looking for some services for Stay in Charge, you can go to stayincharge.io, and that's STAYNCHARGE. You can find all our information and contact stuff there. We do completely free assessments. We'll go through your, whatever you're looking at. And then if you're an EV driver and you're looking for a place to stay when you're going on a trip, go to stayincharge.com and you'll find a directory there of not just our hotels, but any hotel that we know of in the US and Canada. We put in our directory so that to make it easy for drivers to find a place to have chargers. And You'll see some of them are verified. If they're verified, that means we talk to them on a regular basis to make sure the chargers are operational. If it says they're stay in charge, if they're at the top, they're going to be stay in charge chargers, which we guarantee they're going to operate when you get there. So you'll get a charge staying at one of our properties. And then if you're on a verified property, we're kind of monitoring those as well.
Very cool. So this has been Tony Booth of Stay in Charge, problem solver for all the EV users out there. Tony, thank you so much for joining us today on the Bellstride podcast. I appreciate carving us a busy slice of your day.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. It was a great opportunity to get out and discuss and hopefully share some good knowledge to help some people out there on their journeys, because we're all out this thing, and it's great to have some help and hear some stories. Thank you for
Not just the
what
problem
you do.
solving, but the knowledge and the mindset and the gratitude that
Absolutely.
that entails. That we have to remember to practice sometimes. I just want to say
Absolutely.
thank you to everybody watching the Bellstride podcast today. And thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in, folks. Have a good one.